The post is dated 3 days from now. That screenshot is on LurmoStories. We've shown it to people who know the platform better than we do. None of them can explain how it got into the archive. The post isn't long. We waited until the date had passed before recording this. I was a freezer lump at the Port of Seattle in February 2014. That was not the job title, but it was the job. I threw frozen fish around at North Bay Cold Storage near Pier 90. I was 31, renting a basement room in Ballard and driving a 1998 Ford Ranger. The place smelled like diesel, old fish oil, wet cardboard, and dry freezer air. The Seahawks had just won the Super Bowl, so the break room had 12 signs over the OSHA posters. My foreman was Mike, 52, gray beard, black knit cap, ex-Coast Guard. He smoked Marlboro Reds and kept a little notebook in his shirt pocket. On Tuesday, February 18th, I clocked in at 7 with a bad Starbucks coffee and damp gloves. The cold room was -8 Fahrenheit. Plastic wrap cracked when you pulled it. The dock floor had white crust around the drains. Around 9:30, Mike came in with a clipboard. Late reefer, he said. Sockeye, 32 pallets, dock 4 to Bay C. From where? Vancouver transfer. Original says Sitka. Normal enough. Fish moved around. Paperwork lied a little. I finished my Red Bull and followed him out. The trailer was a white 40-footer with a rattling Thermo King unit. The driver stayed in the cab with the heater on. Skinny guy, brown hoodie, Peterbilt cap low over his eyes. Mike checked the seal on the door and paused. What? I asked. Nothing. That was the first thing I should have cared about. I didn't. He cut the seal. Fog rolled around our boots. The pallets were wrapped tight in cloudy plastic. Every box had a clean label. Wild sockeye portions. 25-kilogram blocks. Too clean, honestly. These looked printed at Staples. Mike rubbed one with his thumb. Pretty labels. We started unloading. The first 10 pallets were boring. Jack in, lift, back out, over the dock plate. Frost stuck to my gloves. Outside, a ship horn rolled low over Elliott Bay. At pallet 11, I smelled something sharp under the fish, like nail polish remover. Mike leaned in once. Could be refrigerant. Unit's old. I accepted that because I wanted to keep working. That was my first real mistake. At 10:17, a black Toyota Tacoma rolled past the end of the dock lane. Canopy on the bed. No front plate. It slowed near the fence, then kept going. Port security? I asked. Not in a Tacoma. We kept unloading. Pallet 17 was wrong. The manifest said 1,088 pounds. It dragged like an anchor. The electric jack whined, and the wheels left dark, wet lines where frost scraped off the concrete. Battery? Mike called. No, this one's heavy. He looked at it with the forklift. The rear tires dipped more than they should have. Set it in quarantine. That meant the yellow square by the wall. I moved the pallet there, annoyed because I saw paperwork coming. The driver got out and stood in the rain, hands in his hoodie pockets. You guys almost done? Mike wrote in his notebook. Working on it. The driver looked at the yellow square, then at the notebook, then went back to the cab. I told myself he was just mad about a delay. That was my second mistake. The Tacoma came back around pallet 20. It stopped by the fence. 2 men sat inside, faces hidden by dashboard glow. Then it rolled away with its headlights off. Don't stare, Mike said. I thought he was joking. He was not. By 11:05, we had 3 pallets left. Mike told me to bring 17 to the floor scale near Bay B. The pallet was wrapped so tight the boxes bowed. I slid the jack under it and pulled. 1 top box shifted. There was a dull crack inside the cardboard, then the sticky rip of plastic. A frozen block slid out, hit the pallet edge, bounced once, and landed on the concrete. It did not land like food. It landed like a cinder block. The salmon block split into 3 pieces. Orange fish, white ice, clear film. Chips hit my boots. I stepped forward, already thinking about waste forms. Then I saw the ring. Big gold square. Red stones around a black center. Heavy and ugly. At first, my brain called it a glove tip. Then a keychain. Then a prank. It was still on a finger. It lay beside the salmon, pale and stiff, cut above the second knuckle. Near the base was a tattoo. 3 small dots in a triangle with a curved mark under them. It was not some fisherman's joke. Mike stepped in front of me. Do not touch it. I wasn't going to. Step back. I stepped back. The dock got quiet in a normal way, which was worse. The reefer still rattled. The chain clicked in the draft. The chemical smell was stronger now. Mike looked at the broken block, then at the driver's cab. The driver was watching us in the side mirror. Office, Mike said. What about now? We walked into the shipping office. 2 Motorola chargers, burnt coffee, Seahawks calendar from a tire shop in Kent. Mike locked the door. I had never seen him do that. He picked up the landline. No cell. I had my iPhone 4S halfway out. Why? Because I said. He dialed a number from memory, not 911. This is Redmond at North Bay Cold Storage, Dock 4. I need port police and customs. Possible human remains in cargo. Possible contraband in cargo. Seal discrepancy. Driver still here. He listened. No, I am not opening more boxes. Black Tacoma with canopy outside. No front plate. 2 males. He hung up. How long? I asked. Soon. What do we do? Nothing. That was worse than lifting pallets. Through the window, the driver climbed out. He walked to the trailer, then to the office steps. The knob moved once against the lock. Mike and I stood there. The driver looked through the little glass window. Patchy beard, tired eyes, no expression. Need my paperwork back, he said. Police will return it, Mike said. For fish? For a damaged load. His eyes moved to me. You the one dropped it? I said nothing. He tapped the glass with one knuckle. Tap, tap, tap. Open the door, man. I got a schedule. Mike said, step away. The driver leaned close enough to fog the glass. You don't want this schedule problem. Mike's hand moved under the desk, where he kept bear spray. The driver noticed. His face changed just a little, and he went back down the steps. Mike said, when they get here, say exactly what you saw. Ring, tattoo, seal. Don't guess. You think it's cartel? I think you should shut up. That was the first time he sounded scared. Outside, the Peterbilt engine turned over. The driver pulled forward maybe 6 feet before the dock lock caught the trailer bumper. Our old right height restraint grabbed trailers so they could not pull away while people were inside. The truck jerked once, then again. Metal banged hard enough to shake the office window. Then the Tacoma rolled back into the lane with its headlights off. It stopped behind the Peterbilt. Rain made the windshield black. Get down, Mike said. I got behind the desk and cracked my knee on a drawer handle. Mike killed the office light. The room went gray from the dock lamps. Boots came up the steps. Not the driver's boots. Heavier, slower. Someone tried the handle. Once. Twice. A man said something in Spanish. I caught rápido and a name. Maybe Lalo. Another voice answered from below, annoyed, not panicked. The man at the door knocked 3 times. Soft. Then he said, in English, wrong load. Neither of us moved. Wrong load, he said again. We fix, you go home. Mike pressed the radio button and whispered, Dock 4 office, 2 unknown males at door, need police now. The radio crackled. The man outside heard it. The next hit was not a knock. Something slammed near the latch. The cheap frame flexed. Papers slid off the desk and fanned across the floor. A W-9 form landed by my boot, and I thought payroll would complain if it got wet. Dumb thought. Honest thought. The second hit cracked the trim. Mike raised the bear spray. Stay behind me. I hated that I did. The third hit never came. Sirens started far away, then close fast. Port police had a sharper sound than city cars. Red and blue light flashed through the dock fog. The boots left the steps. Car doors opened. Men shouted. Somebody yelled, "Hands! Let me see hands!" Then there was running. Mike stood first. I stayed down until he said, up. The Tacoma backed down the lane too fast, clipped a stack of pallets, scraped the fence, and shot toward Alaskan Way. A police SUV cut after it. I do not know if they caught it. The Peterbilt driver was on the wet pavement with his hands cuffed behind him. Another officer had a flashlight on the broken salmon block, but kept his distance. After that, the night became badges, tape, and forms. Port police came first. then Seattle police, then customs agents in navy jackets. A woman from Homeland Security showed up with blue gloves and a hard case. They photographed the broken block, the seal, the labels, the torn box, the dock floor. The finger went into a small evidence container. I looked away. A customs agent named Alvarez asked me the same questions 3 times. When did you notice something unusual? The smell, the weight, the Tacoma. What smell? Chemical, like acetone, not fish. Did the driver threaten you? He said we didn't want a schedule problem. Alvarez wrote that down without changing his face. At 1:20 a.m., they opened 3 more boxes from pallet 17 in a controlled area. We were told not to watch, but I saw enough through the office window. No more fingers. Packages, vacuum-sealed bricks hidden inside frozen fish blocks. That explained the weight. Nobody told me what was in them. Nobody had to. They stopped there. The whole shipment was sealed and confiscated as evidence. All 32 pallets. Every box. Even the pieces on the floor were scraped up and bagged. Mike and I gave statements upstairs at 3:10 a.m. They asked if I knew the driver. No. If anyone offered me money. No. If I touched the item. No. They showed me a photo of the ring and tattoo. I said yes. The gold ring had a black, square face with some animal on it, maybe a lion. At 4:30, Mike drove me home because my hands were shaking too much to work the Ranger's clutch. We crossed the Ballard Bridge in silence. Halfway over, he said, "You did fine. I didn't do anything." That's what fine was. For the next week, I jumped at every truck outside my apartment. 2 days later, a man called the warehouse asking when Mike would be back on nights. He gave no company name. Maybe it was nothing. After that night, every normal thing grew teeth. Port Police came back and took copies of our schedules. The company held a safety meeting. Behind the general manager, the whiteboard still showed inventory targets. Cod, 18 pallets. Halibut, 6. Sockeye, evidence. Nobody laughed. Mike had called Port Police. They came, customs came, and the entire lot of frozen fish was confiscated as evidence. I gave my statement 3 times. A week later, I was transferred to dry cargo in Soto, near Airport Way, for safety. Paper rolls and canned goods never smelled like Dock 4. Mike went to days for a while and retired in 2016 near Port Angeles. We text about football, never about that load. I never got the clean answer people want. Whose finger? Which crew? Why our dock? There was a short local article weeks later about a multi-agency seizure at the Port of Seattle, but it did not mention the ring or tattoo. It did not mention a guy tapping on office glass like he was asking to borrow a pen. I buy chicken now. My wife thinks I am picky with seafood, and I let her think that. Once at the Costco in Shoreline, she put a bag of Kirkland frozen salmon in the cart. Bright orange, vacuum sealed, probably fine. I looked at it too long. She said, "Aaron, seriously?" I put it back. I know most frozen fish is just frozen fish. I know that, but I also know exactly how it sounded when that block hit the floor. Not like food, like a locked box opening by mistake. The first thing I changed was the lock. Not my studio, not my money. I still went to Bauhaus the next morning, bought a new latch for €38.95 and put it into the booth door before the 10 o'clock booking. This was September 2022 in Berlin. I was freelancing at a dubbing studio called Klanghaus Ost in Friedrichshain, a few minutes from Warschauerstraße. I was 34, a dialogue editor. I removed jacket rustle, chair squeaks, bad breaths, all the ugly things nobody hears unless you miss them. I worked on Pro Tools, Isotope RX, Genelec monitors, and cracked Sony MDR 7506 headphones. Studio B had 1 control room and 1 booth. The booth door was heavy, with thick glass and a brass thumb turn on the outside. If you turned it from the control room, the person inside could not open the door. Inside, there was only a handle. Everybody knew it was stupid. Nobody fixed it. That Thursday night, I was cleaning an interview for a documentary about food delivery riders. The interview was with Emre, a Turkish writer, recorded in a cafe near Côte Tor. The lav mic rubbed his jacket, cups clacked, and a refrigerator hummed under every useful line. The director, Martin, stayed until 11:40 p.m. He was about 50, gray beard, black Patagonia vest. At 11:48, he stood up and said, "I'm going for cigarettes." "You left your helmet," I said. "2 minutes," you pointed. Make Emery sound like he wasn't sitting beside a fridge. He left. I heard the front buzzer clunk. Then, the building settled into rack fans, transformer whine, rain in the courtyard, tram bells from Warschauer. I was alone. At 12:26, I opened emre_take_04.wav in RX. Around 31:07, there was a long scrape under a line about the app locking him out in the rain. I learned a noise profile and soloed what RX wanted to remove. That is normal. You listen to the trash so you do not throw away speech. Usually it is hiss, rumble, AC, bits of consonants. Your brain makes words from noise when you are tired. So when I heard 3 taps, I did not care. Tap, tap, tap. They were in the right channel, probably someone at the cafe bumping the table. Then, under the taps, a voice said, "Joe." My name is Jonas, but Americans at the studio called me Joe. I stopped playback and looked around. Empty control room, dark booth, Martin's bicycle helmet on the couch, green light on the Neumann supply, dust in the warm smell of the rack gear. I played it again. Joe. Not clear, just a shape in the noise. I told myself fatigue, pattern recognition, bad headphones. Then I duplicated the section to a scratch track called noise_weird and processed it harder. High pass, low pass, compression, dialogue isolate with noise output only. The taps came back. Then breathing. Then Martin said, softly, "Please." I took the headphones off and sat there. It sounded like him, in the technical way voices are recognizable. His dry click before the P, his flat English vowel. He had been talking to me all evening, so I knew the shape. I checked the source file. Emre's interview had been recorded September 8th at 1612 on a Zoom F8N. Martin was in Munich. The tracks were lav, boom, mix. No studio scratch, no hidden stem. I almost wrote Sabina on Slack. "Do you hear Martin in this noise?" It was 12:55 a.m. I deleted it. In the kitchen, I made instant coffee. It tasted burned and metallic. Through the back window, I saw wet concrete, empty bike racks, and no Martin. His helmet was still on the couch when I came back. At 1:17, something thumped in the booth. Not in the headphones, in the room. "Martin?" I said. No answer. I turned on the booth light. Empty. Neumann TLM 103. Pop filter, music stand, tall stool. The door stood open maybe 2 centimeters. I was sure I had closed it. Then, I gave myself a normal explanation. Ventilation pressure, old seal, tired guy making drama. I pushed the door with my foot. The rubber seal made a soft sucking sound. The booth smelled like warm fabric and stale breath. Then, I saw the outside latch. Horizontal, locked position. But the door was open. I stared at it, turned it vertical, opened and closed the door twice, and decided I had bumped it. It was dumb. Dumb explanations are useful at night. At 1:32, my iPhone lit up. Martin. I answered too fast. "You left your helmet," I said. "I know. I went home. Forgot to tell you. Are you still there?" "You went home?" "Yes. Why?" "Did you record anything in Studio B tonight?" "No." "Did you go into the booth?" A short pause. "No. Why would I?" "There's weird bleed in the file." He laughed. "Go home if you're cooked." "I need to bounce a temp." "Then don't make it too clean. We need life." He hung up. That helped, for 5 minutes. Martin was home. The voice was an artifact. The latch was bad. The thump was pipes. I opened a fresh session anyway, imported the original WAV, and made a few harsh versions. EQ, phase inversion, dialogue isolate, brutal bandpass. On the 3rd version, the voice came out like someone speaking through a bathroom door. "Joe, please." 3 taps. "Open the door." I stopped. The Genelex hissed faintly, even muted. The Mac fan was low and steady. Somewhere above me, a pipe ticked 4 times. I played from 3105. "Joe, please, open the door." A handle turned fast. Then Martin, louder, clipped by processing. "Open it. It is locked from outside." I stared at the booth glass. No one inside. Just my reflection. The couch, the helmet, the coat rack. I did not think ghost. I thought routing, talkback loop, corrupt file, bad patch. A haunted booth was lower on the list than something stupid with the Focusrite. At 2:04, the 3 taps came again, from the booth door. I stood up. The outside latch was vertical, unlocked. I pulled the handle, cool metal. The door opened, empty. I checked behind the stool and under the music stand, nothing. Then I stepped inside and closed the door because I wanted to test the latch from inside. That was the stupidest thing I did. Inside, the silence was not peaceful. It was expensive. Through the glass, I saw the desk, the monitor, my headphones, my phone beside the keyboard. I turned the handle. Door opened. Fine. I closed it again. Through the glass, the outside latch was vertical. I tried the handle. It stopped after 5 degrees. I looked again. The latch was horizontal. Locked. I had not touched it. For a moment, I was annoyed before I was scared. I thought the mechanism had slipped, and now I was the idiot locked in a booth at 2 a.m. I knocked on the glass 3 times. Foam swallowed the sound. I knocked harder. "Come on," I said. My phone was still on the desk. Of course. The booth had a ventilation slot, so I could breathe. Sabine would arrive around 8:30. 6 hours in there would be humiliating, not fatal. Then, the Pro Tool session started playing by itself. I could see the counter moving through the glass. Nobody was at the desk. The monitors were muted, but the headphones on the table whispered faintly. Then, my own voice came through the booth speaker. Recorded. Fin. Processed. "Joe, please." My mouth was closed. Martin's voice followed. "Open the door." I hit the door with my palm. "Stop. It is locked from outside," Martin said. Under him was another sound. Breathing close to a mic. Mine, or close enough. I backed into the foam. The pop filter sat between me and the glass like a black circle. The booth light buzzed. Playback stopped. The outside latch moved. Not like a hand turned it. It sagged from horizontal to diagonal, paused, then clicked vertical. Unlocked. I came out fast and hit my hip on the chair. My phone said 2:18 a.m. No missed calls. Battery, 41%. I checked everything. No record arm, no automation right, no remote desktop, no Bluetooth keyboard. I restarted the Mac, the interface, the Genelex, all of it. The room went quiet in stages. Fan down. Relay click. Hiss gone. In that quiet, from inside the booth, Martin whispered, "Joe." I turned the power back on and called him. He answered on the 5th ring. "What?" "Say, open the door." "Jonas, are you drunk?" "No." "I'm home. I'm in bed. Go home." I looked at his helmet. "I need to save this first." "Save what?" "Nothing." He sighed and hung up. I made a folder on the desktop called Martin_noise. I bounced the process section as WAV, AIFF, and MP3, then made a QuickTime screen recording with the timestamp visible. During the bounce, the booth door closed behind me. I only noticed because the latch clicked. Horizontal again, locked from outside. I grabbed my bag, the SanDisk, and Martin's helmet for some reason. I walked to the hall. From the booth came a bang. 1, then 2 fast ones. Then Martin screamed, muffled and clipped like a blown-out recorder. "Open it! Jonas, open the door!" I stopped with my hand on the light switch. Martin was home. I had just called him. The booth was empty. Sound comes from speakers. Latches fail. Doors drift. I repeated all that. Then he said, "I am in the booth." So I went back. The control room looked normal. Screens bright. Coffee cup. Headphones beside the keyboard. Helmet on the couch. Booth latch horizontal. I turned it vertical and pulled. The door did not open. Something held it. Not locked exactly. Held. "Martin," I said. From the booth speaker, very softly, "Don't." Not Martin. Me. I let go. The inside handle moved. 5 degrees, maybe 10, like someone testing it from the other side. There was no one visible through the glass. The booth light was off, so the reflection was strong. I saw my face, the monitor, the couch. Behind that, the mic stand. Then, the Mac played through its tiny internal speaker. No monitors, no headphones. A flat, broken voice said, "If you open it, it will be you." That sentence is the one thing I cannot file under routing, fatigue, or software. I did not open the door. I pressed Command S. Insane, yes, but my hands knew work better than fear. I copied Martin_noise to the USB stick. The transfer bar said 38 seconds. I watched every second. Outside, a tram bell rang. Then I left. Reception smelled like radiator dust and peppermint tea. The front door stuck at the bottom, like always. I kicked it open into light rain. Warschauer Strasse was almost empty. I took a taxi home because I did not want to stand near the studio. At home, I plugged the USB stick into my MacBook. The folder was there, Martin_noise. The WAV was 48.2 megabytes. I opened it. Silence. I tried VLC, Audacity, the MP3, the AIFF, normalization by 50 decibels. Nothing. The screen recording had moving meters and no captured sound. No room tone. Nothing. At 8:04, I was back at Klanghaus. Sabina was at reception with a Lidl croissant and a Starbucks cup. "You look like airport trash," she said. Martin arrived at 8:19. Wet hair, same vest, no helmet. Studio B was open. The latch was vertical. The session was still on screen. Martin_noise was on the desktop. Empty. Created 2:31 a.m. Modified 2:39 a.m. 0 items. The scratch tracks were still in Pro Tools, but every clip was flat. When I isolated Emre's noise again, it was only fridge hum, cups, and a chair scrape. "Did anyone come in last night?" I asked Sabina. "No, cleaner wasn't here. And on that Mac? Jonas, remote access barely works when we want it to." Martin picked up his helmet. "You called me twice." "Bad file," I said. He nodded. "In our work, that explains almost everything." Before the 10 o'clock booking, I removed the outside thumb turn. At lunch, I went to Bauhaus on Schnellerstrasse and bought a latch with an inside release. I installed it badly, with 2 extra holes showing in the wood, but it worked. From that day on, nobody could be locked inside Studio B from the control room. Nobody argued. Martin even said, "Good idea." I finished Emery's interview. The line about rain stayed noisy. The client accepted it. In March 2011, I worked nights at Keller & Sohn, a machine shop outside Pforzheim near the A8. We made pump housings, gear blanks, stainless brackets. I was 34, from Ohio, living then in Stuttgart over a bakery on Schwabstrasse. My machine was a DMG DMC 635V with a Heidenhain ITNC 530 control. I knew its noises: thin spindle whine above 9,000 revolutions per minute, leaky coolant seal, 2 clicks before the tool changer swung. That Thursday, March 17th, I was cutting 8 spur gears from 42 CRM04 blanks, drawing ZR-38-117B. Customer was Bosch Rexroth. Marcus had posted the code. Dieter watched the first part come off at 10:10 p.m., measured 3 teeth with a Mitutoyo mic, and said, "Gut, same program, don't be a hero." Then he went home. After that, it was me, 2 mills, a compressor, and the vending machine that stole €1 coins. The shop smelled of cutting oil, wet cardboard, and sweet bread. Pearl Jam played from a burned CD. My iPhone 4 sat in shipping because it only got 1 bar of O2. By 12:40 a.m., I had 4 good gears. Blank 5 should have been boring. I clamped it, closed the door, called up ZR_38_117B.H and hit cycle start. The probe found center. Tool 7 faced the blank. Tool 12 roughed the outside. Chips came off short and silver. Load sat at 42%. The first odd thing happened right before that. The Heidenhain screen jumped from the program page to the position display by itself. I explained it away at once. Maybe my glove brushed the keypad. Maybe the network hiccuped. Our file server was an old Dell Optiplex running Windows XP and got stupid when someone opened Outlook. I tapped back, saw normal code, and kept working. Then the motion changed. A gear has a rhythm. Arcs, indexes, repeats. This was different. The cutter lifted, moved to the top of the blank, and began making short left-to-right strokes like a tiny typewriter. At first, I thought it was engraving a trace code, though we did not engrave these parts, and not with a 6mm end mill. I hit feed hold and checked the control. The active line said LBL3, rough tooth profile. The preview still showed a gear. I scrolled through the program. No engraving cycle, no text, no hidden subprogram, no joke from Marcus, and Marcus loved dumb jokes. I should have stopped there. I did not. I restarted it because the tool was not screaming. Nothing was crashing, and I wanted to see if it would return to the tooth path. Operators do that. We tell ourselves the machine is only confused for a second. It kept writing. For 6 minutes, it cut clean, shallow characters into the steel. Coolant ran over the safety glass in gray sheets. Every time it cleared, I saw more. Numbers. A dot. More numbers. I wiped the window and read the first complete part. 48.774912. Then it cut an N. Then 9.158241. Then E. I said, "Nope," loud enough to hear myself over the compressor. This time, I paused it again and went to the shipping office. The wall clock said 1:13. I typed 48.774912 9.158241 into Apple Maps. The pin dropped on Stuttgart West, then Schwabstrasse, then the rear half of my building, where my apartment faced the courtyard. I was not scared first. I was angry. I thought Marcus had found my address on payroll paperwork and planted it as a prank, because I was the foreign guy on nights. That was a stupid theory, but it was better than the other one. I called Marcus. Voicemail. I called Dieter. He answered thick with sleep. "The DMC is engraving GPS coordinates," I said. "Wrong program. They're my coordinates, my apartment." Silence. A TV murmured on his end. Then he asked if I had been drinking. Fair question. I told him no. He told me to shut it down, quarantine the part, and leave a note. He would come at 6. He sounded annoyed, which helped for 30 seconds. When I returned to the machine, warm coolant smell rolled out through the cracked door. The part sat in the jaws with those numbers shining on it. Under the coordinate line, the cutter had started a second line before I paused it. H-O-D. Only 3 letters. I did not know Latin. H-O-D meant nothing to me. I took 2 photos, then checked everything. Network file, control memory, recent files. The active program was still ZR_38_117B.H. Opened in Notepad, it was just gear code. Search for 48774 Schwab, Mike, Reeves, H-O-D. Nothing. I stood there building ordinary explanations. Corrupt block read from the network. Bad post. A conversion error. A stuck key. A prank. A prank was still my favorite. At 1:41, the feed hold light turned off by itself. The door was closed. I was not touching the panel. The control beeped once, the stack light went from yellow to green, and the spindle started ramping up. I had 2 seconds to press the red mushroom button. Instead, like an idiot, I looked at the screen. The active line still said rough tooth profile. The cutter dropped and finished the word. Hody. Then it moved below that and began cutting smaller marks, not block letters. Thin strokes, little wedge ends, the kind of thing you expect from a fountain pen, not a 6mm carbide end mill under flood coolant. I know tool geometry. That cutter could not make inside corners that small. It should have rounded every tight place. It did not. I hit emergency stop. The shop went quiet. The spindle coasted down. The coolant pump died. My thumb stayed on the red button longer than needed. On the Heidenhain screen, a message appeared. External stop active. Below it, the file name flickered once. For less than a second, ZR_38_117B.H became another name, and then changed back. Heute.H. Heute is German for today. I knew that much. I shut the control down, then the main isolator, then the breaker on the wall. Normal steps kept my hands from shaking. After that, I unclamped the part, rinsed it, dried it with blue shop paper, and wrapped it in a clean rag. Evidence, customer property, whatever. I put it in my backpack. The tool crib phone rang. We had 3 phones: office, shipping, tool crib. Nobody called the tool crib at night. It rang twice, stopped, rang once, stopped. The main phone display showed internal extension 635. There was no extension 635. The DMC model was 635V. I wrote it in the logbook because writing it down made it feel like maintenance. Then my iPhone buzzed. Unknown number, 1 text. Bist du zu Hause? Are you home? Maybe someone had spoofed it. Maybe Marcus was laughing in bed. Anger gave me enough handle to move. I replied, "Who is this?" No answer. Then I called my apartment landline. I had one because the telecom DSL package came with it. It rang 4 times. Someone picked up. No voice. Not silence either. I heard a refrigerator hum and a soft click every second or so. My old Bosch fridge made that sound. Behind it was another sound, very low, like a motor spinning down behind a wall. "Hello?" I said. Nothing. "Who was there?" The line stayed open for 11 seconds. I counted on the office clock without meaning to. Then it disconnected. That ended my interest in fixing the machine. I took my jacket, backpack, and the Canon camera. I left the 4 good gears in the tray and the half sandwich on the setup cart. I turned off every light except the front office. At the alarm keypad, I typed the code wrong twice because my fingers were slick from coolant. The third time, it took. Outside, the air smelled like wet asphalt and diesel from the highway. Light rain hung on my glasses. Across the lot, a baker in a white cap smoked under a loading bay awning. I almost walked over and asked him to watch me leave. Then the tool crib phone started ringing again, inside the metal building, thin and polite. I got in my 2006 Ford Focus wagon and drove toward the A8. At the first roundabout, I almost took the Stuttgart exit out of habit. I went around twice and took the road toward Karlsruhe instead. At 2:26, I stopped at a Shell station near Carlsbad. Bright lights, wet pavement, Wrigley's gum by the register. I bought water and a paper road map. In the bathroom, I unwrapped the steel blank under the fluorescent light. The engraving was perfect. Coordinates, Hody. Under it, a smaller line I could not read then and will not repeat now. Later I learned Hody is Latin for today. The smaller line looked Latin too, like something copied from a monument. No burrs, no chatter. Corners too tight for tool 12. Any machinist would have seen the problem. I wrapped it again. Then I threw my iPhone in the trash outside the station. Not smart. The text was on it, the map search was on it, the landline call was on it. I just did not want it in the car. Using the payphone, I booked a room at a Best Western in Karlsruhe near the Hauptbahnhof under the name Robert Mason. I paid cash. The room smelled like old smoke. Trams hissed below the window. I put a chair under the door handle and set the blank on the desk. At 5:43 a.m., I called Dieter from the hotel phone. He was at the shop. "Where are you?" he asked. "Not there." "Where is the part?" "With me." "You must bring it back." "No." "Did you see the machine?" In the background, I heard more voices than should have been there before 6. A door closed and his voice dropped. "The DMC is off," he said. "I know. I killed the breaker." "The control is on." "No, it isn't." "It is on, Mike." The radiator ticked under the window. Dieter said, very softly, "There is a program on the screen." "What program?" "I do not know. It asks for a tool." "What tool?" A long pause. "Your name." Neither of us spoke for a few seconds. Then he said, "You should not come here today." That was the last decent thing Dieter ever said to me. I never went back to Keller and Sohn. I mailed my keys from Karlsruhe with no return address and sent an email from an internet cafe saying I had a family emergency in the States. I never went back to my apartment either. I did call someone first. Anna lived below me, a nurse at Marian Hospital who had watered my basil once. I called her at 7:10 and asked if anything looked strange upstairs. I said I might have left a window open. She called back from the courtyard 9 minutes later. "Your door is closed, no smell, no water." "Did you hear anything last night?" "Maybe around 2, a knocking." "At the door?" "No, inside, like someone moving furniture, only one time." I asked about my balcony. "The chair is tipped over," she said, "and your window is open." I never left that window open in March. The bakery downstairs pushed warm yeast air up the back wall. By morning, the whole apartment would smell sour. I always checked. Anna offered to go up with the landlord. I told her not to. By noon, I was on a train to Frankfurt with cash in my sock and the steel part in my bag. From there, I flew back to Ohio. I shipped the blank to myself wrapped in 2 sweaters. The custom sticker said machine part sample. I still have it in a safe deposit box in Dublin, Ohio. I checked it once in 2016. The numbers were the same. Hody was the same. The fine line underneath was still too clean for the tool that made it. I know the rational paths. The file could have been changed and changed back. The phone system could have glitched. The text could have been spoofed. Someone could have known my address, my shift, Latin, hide-and-hand controls, and enough machining to fake an impossible cut while the screen showed normal code. What I cannot get past is the geometry. A 6mm end mill cannot cut a sharp inner corner smaller than 3mm. It cannot engrave little Roman wedges like a pen. It cannot do that under flood coolant while running code that has none of those moves. That is not fear. That is shop math. I hit the emergency stop before it finished whatever it wanted next. I took the part. I drove to a hotel. I never returned to that apartment. Out of all the bad decisions I made that night, those are the only ones I still trust. I took the night job because the ad said mostly sitting, and in September 2020, that sounded fine. The yard was north of Tucson, outside Marana, past Pinal Air Park. From I-10, it looked clean, rows of parked jets under the moon. Up close, it was cracked tires, bird mess, torn insulation, and aluminum that smelled like hot coins. The company was Sonoran Asset Security. My supervisor, Vince, used to be a Pima County deputy and said, "If it moves, write it down. If it doesn't move, don't touch it." I drove a white 2014 Ford F-150 with a Motorola radio, a mag light, and a Belgian Malinois named Roxy. Zone 3 was where the big aircraft waited to be stripped. We had two 747s. One was only ribs. The other sat on a concrete pad by a dry wash, dull white with a blue stripe. Mechanics called it Frenchie because it had once flown for a French charter company. Frenchie had no power, no APU, no batteries, no external cable, no engines. 6 rows of old seats remained in front. My shift started at 6 p.m. Nothing happened for hours. I logged a cone blown over by row C, chased coyotes from the scrap bins, and ate a cold Circle K burrito at 11:40. The air tasted dry and electric, even though my Pixel 3 said 0% chance of storms. At 12:18 a.m., the radio clicked. Static, then a woman saying something faint in a language I did not catch. Ben at the Southgate said it was not him. I wrote 0018, radio interference, female voice, unknown language in the log. I told myself it was Border Patrol bleed over. Cheap radio, dry air, towers everywhere. That was the first excuse. At 1:07, I saw the light. I was on the East Service Road between 2 dead 737s. The moon made clean shadows on the gravel. Ahead of us, beyond a line of tail sections, a warm, yellow rectangle switched on. Not a flash, not headlights, a steady cabin window. I stopped the truck. The light came from Frenchie's upper deck. No contractor pickups, no generator hum, no diesel smell. Just insects, the ticking engine, and Roxy making a low sound in her throat. I asked Ben if anyone was signed into Zone 3. He said, "Just you and the dog, man." More windows glowed along the main deck, soft and old-looking, like bulbs behind dirty plastic. I told myself a portable work light had been left inside on a timer. Maybe a battery pack. Then the plane chimed. It was the little ding before a safety video. A woman's voice came through the aircraft speakers, not my radio. Bright, polite, French. I remembered almost none from high school, but I knew mesdames et messieurs and ceinture. Ladies and gentlemen, seatbelt. I called Vince. I told him we had lights inside Frenchie, no crew, and a French safety briefing playing. The voice got louder, and Vince heard it through my phone. "Don't be cute with me, Mark," he said. I was 38, divorced enough to eat burritos in a security truck, and not cute on purpose. Vince told us to check the door, but not enter past the forward galley. Eyes only unless you see a person in distress. He was 40 minutes out. Ben wanted to wait. I did too. But if someone was inside and got hurt, it landed on us. So we pushed the rolling stairs to the L1 door. The bad wheel dragged a line in the dust. Roxy refused to go near it. She sat down, leaned against the leash, and stared at the door. The L1 door should have been chained shut. The chain hung open. That should have stopped me. Instead, I decided a contractor had been lazy, because lazy people are common and impossible things are not. The door sat an inch ajar. Warm light came through the crack. Ben stood at the bottom and said, "Dude, don't." I said, "I'm just looking." I climbed 8 steps and pushed the door with my mag light. The smell came out first. Not rot. Stale cabin fabric, burnt coffee, plastic trays, and that blue chemical smell from airplane bathrooms. Under it was desert dust, but the first breath was airport. The forward galley was partly dismantled, except now a service cart stood where no cart had been at 9 p.m. Reading lights glowed down the aisle. The PA dinged again. The attendant switched to English for one sentence. "Please direct your attention to the cabin crew for a safety demonstration." Then French again. I raised the flashlight down the aisle. Rows of passengers sat in the remaining seats. My brain tried mannequins first. Then the light hit the nearest face. A skull sat above a blue blanket, tilted toward the window. A seatbelt crossed the lap bones. Across the aisle, another skull wore a ball cap. Behind it were more, row after row, all upright, all belted. I counted without meaning to. 3 in the first row, 2 in the second, 4 behind that, at least 20. I stepped back and hit my shoulder on the frame. Ben said, "What?" Inside, the woman kept talking about life vests. The nearest skull turned its head. Not fast, it shifted maybe an inch, with a dry tap against the plastic headrest. It faced me. I backed down one step at a time. Roxy was pulling so hard against the hitch that the truck rocked. Ben asked what I saw. I said, "Seats are full." He said, "With who?" I looked at him. "Not who." Ben tried 911. No service. My AT&T had 1 bar, then none. The truck radio filled with static, and under it I heard the French voice delayed by 1 second from the cabin speakers. Then another voice came through, calm and American. "Flight 409, maintain flight level 350. A woman answered, "Maintain 350, 409. The cabin lights dipped. For one moment, I saw shadows move behind the windows, like heads shifting together when a bus takes a curve. Then, thin applause came from inside, dry and weak. The plane made a deep hydraulic whine. The right wing had no engine, but the pylon shivered. A red navigation light blinked on the wingtip. Inside the doorway, the service cart rolled forward by itself, bumping along the floor track. That was enough. I climbed back up, grabbed the door edge, and slammed it. I looped the chain through the bracket and snapped the padlock shut. Then, Ben and I dragged the stairs back 20 feet. The French voice kept going, muffled now. There was a yellow Tug Technologies aircraft tug by the parts shed, keys and a lockbox in my truck. I started it on the 3rd try. Diesel smoke and hot oil blew back in my face. I shoved the stairs sideways in front of the L1 door, then parked the tug against them and set the brake. It was not a fortress, it was a heavy inconvenience. At 1:40 in the morning, that felt like a plan. Vince arrived at 1:57 in his black Tahoe. He saw the windows and stopped. Frenchie glowed from nose to wing. Some windows were bright, some dark. The wingtip blinked every 2 seconds. Old boarding music played inside, strings and piano. "Anybody inside?" Vince asked.
Ben said, "Yes." I said, "I don't know. I saw seats occupied. Skeletons. Belts on." Vince started toward the plane with his streamlight. I stepped in front of him. "Don't go in." Behind him, a seatbelt sign chimed. Then something knocked from inside the L1 door. One knock. Polite. Knuckles on metal. Then a second. From the PA, the woman said in English, "Cabin crew, prepare for takeoff." The nose wheel assembly creaked. The whole 747 shifted, maybe half an inch. Gravel crunched under a jack stand. The tug rattled against the stairs. Ben whispered, "There is no runway." The radio came alive with layered voices. Air traffic, cockpit callouts, a man asking if they would make the connection in Paris. A woman saying, "I told you we should have flown Delta." Under it all, the French briefing began again. The temperature dropped. I can give numbers. The F-150 mirror read 82 when Vince arrived. At 2:06, it read 61. The dust smell vanished and became wet asphalt, coffee, perfume, jet bridge carpet. I heard rain above us, though the sky over Arizona was clear. Vince whispered, "Back up." We backed to the trucks. The cockpit windows lit green. In the left seat, I saw a shape with a headset. It turned toward us, and 2 landing lights came on. They were not installed. I had walked past the empty housings earlier that evening. White beams hit the tails in row G. Then the engines spooled. No engines, but the sound came anyway. Dust streamed along the ground. Loose plastic snapped on the wing. The smell of jet fuel hit so hard, my eyes watered. Instead of moving, the plane filled its windows with faces. Not skulls now,
People. Pale, tired, badly lit. A woman with short, dark hair pressed her palm to the glass. A man in a tan jacket stared past us like he was looking for a gate agent. A young woman in a red sweatshirt held a toy airplane. Their clothes did not match 1 year. The radio said, "Ground, we're showing a door warning." Another voice answered, 409, hold position. The L1 door pushed against the chain. Once. Twice. Then, steady. Metal squealed. The master lock jumped in the bracket. I remember thinking I had seen that exact lock at Home Depot for $14.98, and it was about to decide everything. The tug held. The stairs held. The push stopped. The lights dimmed. The faces vanished. The engine sound faded until it was only wind moving through open panels. Jet fuel became dust again. The mirror thermometer climbed from 61 to 74 in less than a minute. At 2:19, every window went dark except one upper deck window. In it, a woman stood in the aisle, just an outline with a small scarf at the neck. She raised one hand, not waving, more like telling us to wait. Then, the last light clicked off. Nobody went near Frenchie until daylight. We parked the trucks in a triangle and kept watch. Vince called the yard manager, Terry, and left a message about an electrical issue with aircraft 747-AF2. He did not mention passengers. At 3:03, the radio clicked, and a woman said, "Merci," close to my ear. At 5:20, the east went gray. At 6:10, we approached. The tug was still against the stairs. The chain was still locked through the L1 bracket. The metal around it had scratches that might have been new. That is the kind of sentence you write when you need to keep your job. Vince unlocked the door. He told Ben to stay outside and told me to hold Roxy. I stayed on the stairs. I had already decided I was not entering. Call that cowardice. I call it the one smart choice I made. Hot, stale air came out. Nothing else. The galley was stripped, just like it had been all week. No service cart, no coffee smell, no blue bathroom chemical. Wires hung in bundles with white tags. The cabin seats were exactly as I remembered. 6 rows forward, 3 rows middle, none after the wing. Dust on everything. No skeletons, no blankets, no ball cap, no safety cards. Vince walked 10 feet down the aisle and said, "Empty." When he came back, he had something between 2 fingers. A boarding pass. Old thermal paper, curled gray at the edges. Most of it was blank, but I could read 3 things. Tucson, Paris CDG, and September 18th. The year was smeared. Vince looked at it, then at me. He folded it once and put it in his shirt pocket. I said, "I didn't see that." He said, "No, you didn't." Before I clocked out, I filled the log. 0108, intermittent cabin lighting in 747-AF2. 0018-0310, radio interference likely due to static/electrical conditions. Secured L1 access with chain and GSE. No persons located. Recommend wiring check. What I remember most is not the skeletons or the faces. It is the flight attendant's tone. Bright, trained, polite. A voice built to keep people calm while they sat in a metal tube and trusted strangers with switches. When she told them to fasten their seatbelts, every figure in that cabin already had one fastened. Sometimes, in my apartment in Tucson, my clock radio clicks before it catches the station. Static. I know it is nothing. Bad wiring, dry air, the neighbor's router. I know how to write the log entry. But for 1 second, I wait to hear French. End of LurmoStories. The last screenshot in tonight's video has a timestamp that shouldn't exist. The forum it came from didn't run that build yet. Nobody in the comments has explained it. Maybe you can. We read every reply on the post that mentions it.